The Buffalo Bills experienced a rare December loss, falling to the Los Angeles Rams 42-44. My reaction to the game is coming your way today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of Go Bills and Buffalo's Run, also the co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. I want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. I'd also like to invite you to subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Well, folks, welcome in. The Buffalo Bills fell to the Los Angeles Rams 44-42, dropped to 10-3 on the season. They do remain the number 2 seed in the AFC playoffs. It's been a while, but not a victory Monday here on Locked On Bills. A very disappointing loss for Buffalo. An unserious effort by the defense, special teams blunders, coaching blunders. And we should be talking about and celebrating a heroic and all-time and elite and exceptional performance by Josh Allen, but we're not. We're talking about how that was spoiled here in this post-game reaction. Want to get into this conversation in a more traditional sense. I want to talk about things I didn't like, which is quite a bit. Want to talk about some blunders, which I guess fall under things I didn't like. And then I do want to get into things I liked. Maybe give you a silver lining and talk about what's next. So let's get into this. Things I didn't like, and we're just going to start with the defense. That was an unserious defensive effort by the Buffalo Bills. The Rams got whatever they wanted. And it started with them winning up front. They controlled the action with their offensive line. Bills' defensive line was, oh boy, what a horrible performance. The drive charts for the Rams, absolutely insane. This is in order. 12 plays, 70 yards, touchdown. 10 plays, 65 yards, field goal. 12 plays, 76 yards, touchdown. End of half. 11 plays, 76 yards, touchdown. 7 plays, 70-yard touchdown. 3 and out. They punted. Wow. 11 plays, 71 yards, touchdown. Are you kidding? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 scoring drives of more than 65 yards. You ain't going to beat anybody like that. Not even if your quarterback goes out and has 400 yards and 6 touchdowns. Just an absolutely unserious defensive effort. Giving up 44 points. Giving up 28 first downs. They converted 12 possession downs. They're 12 of 16 on 3rd and 4th downs. You couldn't get a stop. You could not come close to getting a stop. Conceding 457 yards of offense. The Rams possessed the ball for 38 and a half minutes. It's one of the worst defensive performances I've seen from the Buffalo Bills. Not necessarily in a long time, but in my lifetime. An unserious defensive effort. Pass rush, complete no-show. Didn't sniff Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford just dicing up the Bills left and right. Dot after dot after dot after dot. The Bills say, we're going to play zone coverage and we're going to dare you to make high level of difficulty throws. And Matthew Stafford said, okay, no problem. I'll do that. I'm one of the most talented quarterbacks in terms of arm talent in the league over the last 20 years. Sure, yeah, I'll make all those throws. No problem. 23 of 30, 320 yards. Dime after dime after dime after dime. And I think the Bills needed to play more man defense early in the game. I think they needed less delayed blitzes. I mean, I'm watching second-level defenders on a delayed release, and all you're doing is just vacating space and making it easy for Matthew Stafford. You needed your defensive lineman to win a one-on-one battle and get off a block and get quick pressure and make a play behind the line of scrimmage. Taron Johnson's getting cooked left and right from the slot. I talked about in the build-up to this game that this is a matchup of good on good with their receivers against the Bills' corners. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua against Taron Johnson, Rasul Douglas, and Christian Benford. Their good beat our good. I mean, literally not a single clutch play made on defense. And that's been your formula all year. You get a little bit leaky, you give up some yards, but at some point you'd get a play. Not tonight. Not in this one. Stafford had whatever he wanted. And hat tip to him, man. He went out there and executed, played one heck of a game. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua made plays left and right. They had timely play calls from Sean McVay that kind of knew where the Bills were going to be trying to pressure or where they were going to play coverage, and just had the right answers over and over and over and over and over again. Got outplayed, got outcoached. And the run defense, I think if you look at it in totality, you're not going to look at 42 rushes, 137 yards as a terrible game, right? Only 3.3 yards per carry. But it started hot, and I thought it opened up everything for their team. They start to control the line of scrimmage. They're running the football well. The Bills have to start rolling safeties down into the run fit. They have to start run blitzing to get stops against the run. And that, I thought, opened up a lot for their passing game. But the bottom line is your defense you didn't have any answers. Ever in the game. Just unbelievable in terms of the Rams meeting the moment, in terms of exactly the type of style of defense the Bills are going to give you, and them having every right idea, execution, pulled every correct lever, and the Bills had no answers. And I'm sure that's going to bring up a lot of questions about, well, Matt Milano, is he helping? Dorian Williams was on an ascending path. It's going to bring up questions. Well, Rasul Douglas gets hurt and Kyer Elam's inactive, and is that the right move? It's going to bring up questions about a defensive line rotation and if it's good enough. I get it. I understand all the possibilities that people are thinking about. And maybe it was just an uncharacteristic game and it's not replicatable, and Stafford, Nacua, and Kupp played out of their minds, and that's probably not going to happen again. But boy, oh boy, was that an unserious effort from Sean McDermott and Bobby Babbich's defense. Got roasted for 60 minutes. You thought maybe coming out of halftime there'd be some ideas. No. Coming out of halftime when you're down all those points at halftime, they come out and score 2 consecutive touchdown drives of more than 70 yards. 3 touchdown drives of more than 70 yards in their first 4 possessions of the second half. You didn't have any answers whatsoever. So not only was your defense just simply not good enough, you had a bunch of blunders. We're going to talk about those blunders, the completely non-existent Bills rushing offense, and then one heck of a day from Mr. Josh Allen. Folks, be sure to stick with us. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free online courses, including Constitution 101, Introduction to Free Market Economics, The Rise and Fall of the Roman Republic, and a brand new documentary-style course on Marxism, Socialism, and Communism. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced, so you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or simply just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's very easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. If you love watching the game, you're going to love Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. Whether it's football, basketball, or any of your favorite sports, Prize Picks makes your holidays bigger and brighter. here's what you need to check out. You can now win up to 200 times your money on Prize Picks. Plus, this holiday season, they're giving away $30 million in rewards during Picksmas and offering 2 free picks in December. And when your picks hit, Prize Picks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. For Monday Night Football, we got the Cowboys and we have the Bengals. I'm looking at Joe Burrow to go more than 278 in passing yards and Jamar Chase to go over 0.5 rushing or receiving touchdowns. It's quick, it's simple, and so much fun to challenge myself and my friends. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly when you play just $5. Prize Picks, run your game. So an unserious defensive effort was complemented by blunders. Blunders. Plenty of them. I think these are very much a problem in this game. I think the defensive performance was like by far the leading factor as to why the Bills lost. But boy, they didn't help themselves with some significant blunders. Now, one thing I know everyone's talking about is Sean McDermott's decision to accept the holding penalty. So the Bills, it was 3rd and 5. They have a 1-yard loss to make it 4th and 6 from the 36. Sean McDermott accepts the holding penalty to make it 3rd and 17. The idea there is to take them out of field goal range. And I think we learned through Sean McVay's decision to go for it on the 4th and 5 after they gained 11 yards on 3rd and 17 or 3rd and 16, that they probably were going to go for it anyways. But why give them the extra down? And if you're going to give them the extra down, actually try to keep them back there. You've got to play better on 3rd and 17. You can't give that up in 2 plays like you're soft butter, but that's what you did all game long. 3rd and 16, you promptly give up 11 yards, and then on 4th and 5, you give up 11 more yards. Unserious defensive effort, and I think there's some questions to be had about accepting that penalty. Again, would they have went for it on the 4th and 6? Maybe so. Maybe they would have been tempted to kick the field goal from the 36. But the point being is you gave them 2 downs. And if you're going to pin them back, well, then pin them back. Make a play. Do something that's not conceding yards and say, hey, let's rally and make a tackle. Congratulations, you rallied and made a tackle for consecutive 11-yard gains, only for them to eventually go down and score a touchdown. It's a blunder. How about the 3rd and 5 touchdown to Puka Nacua? 19 yards out, they score to go up by 2 scores. The referees miss a false start. I mean, an egregious, obvious false start. The guy stands up out of his stance before the ball snap. It's a textbook missed false start. It can't happen. Especially the ticky-tack PI calls that they were calling in this game. You're going to miss that one. It's a game-changing blunder by the referees. I know a lot of people are talking about the quarterback sneak from Josh Allen, down 9. It's that 1st and goal from the 1 after the pass interference call on Amari Cooper. They wind up quarterback sneaking it. They don't get in. They have to use a timeout. Then, of course, they sneak it on the next play and get in. I think there's plenty to be questioned there. It's a long one. I think there's a lot to be said about 1 yard. And if it's a full 1, 3/4 of a yard, half a yard, it's a lot different. And then they just didn't run it with their normal situation. They wind up going empty and then kind of motioning in the pusher behind Josh Allen. Like, just if you're going to run the sneak, run the freaking sneak. But better than that is just throwing the ball into the end zone and preserving your timeout to give yourself a better chance to win the game if you can't get the onside kick, which is a low percentage play. So obviously I thought that was mismanaged. I don't think you can call that quarterback sneak there. You have to throw the ball 4 times or three times in the end zone. Now I understand it's Josh Allen, it's a high percentage play, but that's a long 1 yard. It's different. The punt at the end of the game. We're talking about blunders. The punt at the end of the game where the Rams punted it to the Bills. And the big question that everyone had coming out was, why didn't Brandon Codrington return the ball? It has to be fielded and returned. That's your only chance to score. Well, as it turns out, and Sean McDermott admitted this in his post-game press conference, the Bills only had 9 players on the field. Their idea was to try to block the punt, but they only had 9 on the field. That's unbelievable. That's terrible operation. How does that happen? And I'm sure the answer is rooted in you probably had some injuries, so your personnel for that particular moment wasn't necessarily like obvious, but no. That's not an excuse. It's a game. It's a potentially game-changing situation where you didn't give yourself your best opportunity to block a punt because you couldn't get 11 guys on the field. Not 1 short, you're 2 short. Are you kidding me? A year after, you have too many on the field against Denver and they missed a field goal to get a second chance and make it? That's operationally terrible. Expectations are much higher for being able to just have the correct number of people on the field in a situation like that. That had to be the thought process the entire time on that series. How do you not immediately have your punt block plan and the 11 guys that need to go out there to do it? It's unacceptable. You had a blocked punt for a touchdown. Now, you could put a lot of blame on Matthew Smiley and Sean McDermott for the not having enough players on the field to give yourself a chance to block that punt. But for the blocked punt for a touchdown, look right at that long snapper, Reed Ferguson, who got steamrolled, and allowed the blocked punt. That's all that is. Matthew Smiley and Sean McDermott didn't tell Reed Ferguson to get ran over. That one's not hard to figure out. Got crushed. But don't forget that 2 plays earlier, the second down play before you punted on 4th down, Josh Allen has Mac Hollins wide open down the field. And I know it's hard to extend criticism to Josh Allen because he played amazing, a historic performance. He was late on the throw, had too much air on it, missed out on a touchdown. It's a 14-point swing. 7 points your way off the board into a blocked punt for a touchdown. It's a 14-point swing, folks. Then you have this double dip opportunity before the half. It's like, okay, the Bills are down 10. You get the ball here, get the ball coming out of the half. Here we go. This is your chance. You didn't get anything. You couldn't convert a 3rd and 2 on that drive. And you get the ball first coming out of the half. It's a 3 and out. Josh Allen misses a wide open Khalil Shakir over the middle of the field. In a game like this, 42-44, where whatever, all the history that's made, 850 yards of offense with no turnovers and sacks, whatever these numbers are coming out, you couldn't miss that throw to Shakir. You couldn't miss that throw to Hollins, and you did. Again, I'm gonna give Josh Allen roses on top of roses, but every play matters, and those were 2 misses by Josh. Very, very costly. How about the rushing offense? You had none of boy. You had nothing running the ball against a bad Rams run defense. James Cook 6 for 20. That's it for running back production in the running game. James Cook, 6 for 20. Now, game script matters here. You're down 10 with 12 and a half minutes left in the second quarter. You're down 17 for a large part of the game, including with 5.5 minutes left in the third quarter. So you're playing from behind the entire game, but you have no ability whatsoever to lean onto your rushing offense. So, yeah, the defense was unserious. We talked about blunders, couldn't run the football. And then there's Josh Allen. Things I liked. Josh Allen. So this is an all-time performance from a Bills player. 22 of 37, 342 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 10 rushes, 82 yards, 3 touchdowns, 424 yards of offense, 6 touchdowns. You just can't lose that game, right? You can't lose a game where Josh Allen has 424 yards, 6 touchdowns, doesn't get sacked, and you don't turn the ball over. You cannot lose that game, and the Bills did. Josh Allen set all kinds of records. Today marks Josh Allen's 10th career game with 300 passing yards and 50 rushing yards, which extends his own NFL record. Josh Allen had 2 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns today. That's his 5th such game, which surpasses Steve Young for the most in NFL history. Allen has tied Tom Brady and Drew Brees for the most all-time games with 3+ passing touchdowns and 1+ rushing touchdown. He tied Cordell Stewart for the most 3+ touching. Excuse me. He He tied Cordell Stewart for the most 3+ passing touchdown and 2+ rushing touchdown games in league history. And he tied Patrick Mahomes for the fewest amount of games it took to score 250 career touchdowns. Did it in 107 games. And we're talking about a Bills loss today. Shout out to some of the weapons. Amari Cooper, 6 for 95. Some fun plays down the field. Some really good catches. Khalil Shakir, 5 for 106. Big time catch and run, getting down the field. I mean, he's awesome. Mac Hollins, 4 for 57 and a touchdown. Ty Johnson, 2 big catches early in the game for 55 yards and a touchdown. So Josh Allen and some of his weapons were really good, but you couldn't run the ball. You couldn't play defense, special teams blunders, coaching blunders. You lose 42-44. All right, on the other side of it, I'm going to try to give you a couple things for silver linings. We'll recap my predictions and talk about what's next for the Bills and this podcast. Folks, be sure to stick with me. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet over at FanDuel.com. The live in-game betting is really fun. You can go on there and pick the result for an upcoming drive. If someone's going to catch a pass on the upcoming drive, makes watching the games even more exciting. And, FanDuel really does have it organized extremely well where you can see the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play and place your bets on the same page. So never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. I'll give you a couple of silver linings maybe. You could choose to buy into them or not. You won't hurt my feelings. But some things that are on my mind if I want to find some positive spins on this game. I'll say this. First of all, tip of the hat to Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Sean McVay. They were terrific in this game. They had all the right ideas. They executed. Scheme was good. They outplayed. They out-schemed the Bills. And the silver lining being that's what it takes, right? That's what it takes. The Bills are on the road, and they lose by 2, and the Bills have multiple blunders. Their quarterback, coach, and best 2 players on offense goes off, and the Bills lose by 2. The Bills also rarely lose in December. I think they have 2 losses in December since 2020, both coming in 2021. Maybe a loss in December is not the end of the world. Maybe a taste of a late season loss helps with the postseason run. Now, it doesn't help you get the 1 seed. And I did think that the Bills could lose one more game the rest of the way and still be the 1 seed. But I thought that loss was probably going to be the Lions next week. And that's a tough game. That's a tough game. It's at their place. The Lions have a rest advantage. They played on Thursday. So they get a rest advantage into a home date, while you just had a hard-fought loss on the road in Los Angeles. And quite frankly, the Lions are a supercharged version of the Rams. Going to present very similar problems with more dynamic players and a more aggressive coach and more experienced players on defense and a more experienced defensive coordinator. Like, oh boy. But they put their pants on the same way that the Bills do, one leg at a time. We'll play the game. We'll see what happens. But obviously the recipe is going to have to be a lot different for the Bills. Point being, maybe the December loss isn't the end of the world. The Bills are still the number 2 seed. I'm recording this during Chargers and Chiefs, so I don't really know what's going on there. They could still be 1 game back. But obviously the path to the number 1 seed becomes more difficult because you're looking at this game next week against Detroit and feeling like that was your one margin for error game and you kind of lost it now. So we'll see what happens. Recapping my predictions, didn't do so good. Josh Allen, I had him down for over 275 passing yards. We cleared that very comfortably. I had the Bills over 26.5 points, which is where FanDuel had their over-under. We nailed that, obviously. Did not get this one. I had James Cook down for over 61.5 rushing yards. He had 20. Disappointing. I mean, I don't know that James played bad. It's just the game script and just really on both sides of the football early in the game, you couldn't win. You couldn't win the line of scrimmage. I predicted the Bills would win. That didn't happen. I predicted the Bills would come out as the number 1 seed in the AFC. And I'm recording this during Chargers and Chiefs. So I mean, obviously that game's inconsequential because the result of it doesn't matter. The Chiefs will be the 1 seed whether they win or lose because the Bills lost this game. What's next for the Bills, as we briefly mentioned, is a road date with the Detroit Lions. Tough matchup with them having a rest advantage and obviously a very good football team. What's next for this podcast is the All-22 review. Spend all day Monday in the tape, and we'll get you a full breakdown of my observations. I'm going to watch the trenches a lot, and I'm going to see who got and who didn't. I want to see some of the matchups with Kupp and Nakua against the Bills' good corners and see where that fell sideways. Monitoring Matt Milano and his comeback, Dwayne Carter's first game back. Josh Allen doing cool things. That'll be our next conversation. And, of course, if you're part of our subtext or our Substack, that means you will get the All-22 review file. So 30, 45 minutes of me breaking down clips from the game. That'll come your way later in the day on Monday. That also gets you into our Discord channel. So many great incentives. I'd encourage you to become part of the community that we're building around this podcast. And the way to do that is through Subtext or Substack. That gets you into our Discord channel. So many cool things going on there with, I think we're at like 1,400 Bills fans in there having a great time all the time. Obviously, not the funnest of times with the Bills losing, but they just did win 7 in a row. So let's not lose sight of that. The things that you felt about the Bills before kickoff, they're still true. They got on defense and had their share of blunders. Couldn't win a football game on the road. So All-22 review is next, and herd mentality and crossover Thursday as we get ready for the Detroit Lions. It's a big week for the Substack, folks. Check it out. Lots of articles. You get my big picture thoughts out of this game on Monday. You'll get my player grade update. So I'm treating this as the end of the third quarter, with it being a 17-game schedule now. One quarter has to be 5 games. So this is the quarter that I chose to be 5 games. So you'll get my player updates in terms of the grades. I grade every player on the Bills. I put them in a category. And so any adjustments I make after every quarter. So that article's coming up. You get Josh Allen Weekly, my weekly scouting article on Josh Allen. You get my quarterly report card. So I'm going to grade the Bills offense, defense, in every area, special teams as well, and give them a grade, talk about what's going well, where they have to improve. And then, of course, we'll close out the week with my scouting matchup preview on the Lions, where I will show you a visual depth chart of both teams, and I have every player categorized as quality starter, elite starter, average starter, quality depth player, replacement level player, or insufficient information to assess them. You can see visually how everybody matches up against each other. And, of course, my analysis on the biggest matchups where I think both teams would have an advantage. So all of that's coming your way in the Herd Mentality Substack. Good week to be part of it. Click in the show notes for the link to get there. All right, folks, that's it for today. Sorry it's not a Victory Monday. We'll try again next week against the Detroit Lions. Coverage all week long. You know what we do. All the episodes that normally come your way on Locked On Bills will be here for you. And as I say, the best and most meaningful conversations that we have come after a Bills loss. So it's nobody wants to talk about it, but I'm telling you, we'll have really good conversations this week as we, I don't know if reset's the right word, but we look at this football team, we look at what happens, and we project it forward and see what this team can get done. So don't miss it. Make sure that you're subscribed. We'd love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Have a great rest of your day. Go Bills! And I look forward to catching up with you again real soon.